60 Days In is the wildly popular A&E docuseries about a group of regular civilians who are chosen to go undercover in some of the toughest prisons in the United States. While undercover, the civilians are to infiltrate the prison and befriend real-life inmates in order to gain first-hand insight on gangs, drugs, and corruption that are taking place in the jail system in order to report their findings to the police chief so that the jail can rework the way that the prisons are being ran. Many people are terrified of going to jail and do everything in their power to avoid it by remaining law-abiding citizens. But some people are so intrigued by the prison system and prison reform that they would be a willing participant on a show like 60 Days In. Michelle is one of those people. Michelle starred in season 3 of 60 Days In, and it wasn't always easy for her during her 60 days, and at one point, she almost had her cover blown.
When the door's shut, lights out, my cellie goes to sleep, the demons come.
I've never been this nervous in my life. Never, ever.
I don't want to do this to you.
I'm in here. There's no turning back.
You're still part of that 60 days.
He definitely suspicious.
If you a snitch, you a rat, you gonna die.
Oh, I'm running.
It's gonna be a long 60 days.
You got lions, bears, tigers.
It's like being locked in cages. Animals in cages.
What's up? Call me a bitch again, bro. Call me a bitch again. You up?
All the inmates, they all take drugs, all of them.
Clean your plate.
It's legit weed that the trustees bring in, and they smoke.
It's so much drugs.
The thing is that what makes you so much better than me? Check.
I was not willing to take his crap.
What am I doing here? It's up in there.
You want to stay an extra 60 days?
Why would you trust an inmate and say that stuff? You put everybody in jeopardy.
We got this.
Say he went full inmate.
No, let's do it. Let's just shut it down.
Find out what it's really like being an undercover civilian in one of the country's toughest jails, Fulton County in Atlanta. Please welcome Michelle to the hot seat.
All right, so I'll go ahead and jump right into it. So you starred in season 3 of A&E's wildly popular reality show, 60 Days In, where civilians go undercover as inmates in real life jails. You were sent undercover to the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta. Why did you get involved in a show like this?
So basically out of curiosity, because I watched season 1 and so this was way back when they first started. Season 1, that was the only season that had aired. When we were doing season 3, season 2 was on, it was like on every Thursday, and we were in Fulton County. So, but really just out of curiosity, I wanted to see kind of what goes on, get more details on the criminal justice system, learn about the inmates, why are they there, what did they do, just kind of, but basically curiosity.
Or were you ever in fear that your cover would be blown as a civilian at any time?
Absolutely. So, and this is something I was thinking, I'm going to say this because I've never said it to anybody. So, what they do is they do like meetings with you, training to get you ready to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And what they told me, they use this word, okay? And the word is safekeeping, 2 words, sorry, safekeeping, okay? I did not know what that meant, besides the obvious. We're putting you here for safekeeping, okay? Well, within 2 hours of being in there, I said those words, okay? Those words in jail behind bars are right away. That is what they say when they're keeping like an undercover police officer, an undercover agent, whatever undercover it is. Those are the key words that they say. So I felt like producers kind of set me up a little bit by saying that, and maybe they didn't. I can't prove that. I'm just saying it felt that way.
Right.
Because as soon as I said that, oh my gosh, hell broke loose. And I was like, wait, what did I say? And they right away. And they put me, just by coincidence, they put me in the bottom center cell. And that was the worst, most troublemaking, most fighters, most drama cell in the entire pod. They show it on the show the first night, the girls running around naked. That was not editing. That truly was my first night in there. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, where am I at? And I knew that I was not going to leave as bad as I wanted to. I knew I was going to stick it out and stay because I needed to do that for me. There were some days that I was like, I cannot do this. Why did I sign up for this? Why am I here? What am I doing? But everybody sees that I actually made it.
I've heard that thousands of people submitted to be on 60 Days In, but only a few were chosen to be participants. What was the casting process like, and why do you think that you were selected to be on season 3?
I found out way later on, like they actually told me on the drive when I was going into Fulton County, the producer told me that I was not, they already had their season 3 cast set up. They had the 3 girls, the 4 guys, whatever, they were all set. Well, the one girl, I don't know who she is. I never found out who she is. When she found out where it was, Atlanta, Fulton County, she said, no way am I going in there, because that's one of the most dangerous jails in the nation. I didn't know that either, obviously. And I'm kind of glad I didn't know, because I think if I did know, I would have been more scared. I would have been more nervous. So she backed out. So when you first email in, you don't know what they're talking about. All they say is, if you have a strong opinion on the criminal justice system, send an email to us. Okay. So I sent that email and I said, a couple of things that just about criminal justice, whatever, that my little tiny mind at the time thought I knew. I guess my opinion was skewed because I didn't know. So in the very next morning, they called me. I was on my way to work and it said New York, New York. And I was like, wow, New York, New York. Who's calling me from New York, New York? So I answered it, of course, like curiosity. And she was like, this is, so-and-so from Lucky 8 Productions, and we're reaching out to you regarding your response. I mean, it wasn't even 12 hours. Like, it was I just sent it the night before. So we talked and she said, can we set up like an interview? So they liked what I said. And so we went to the next step, which was another. So I had like about 2 or 3 like video interviews, and they were just asking about me, and so then they do this extensive background check. I mean, they dug up stuff I forgot about. After that, they said, give us a few days and we will, we'll contact you. So the lady calls me and I was at work, so I didn't answer, and I called her back on my break and she's like, are you sitting down? I was like, yeah. And she said, we want you to do it. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
are you kidding me? It completely blew me away and shocked me. I never in a million years thought that they would be interested in little old me. I really didn't think they would. After they pick you, then you go to New York. And I had never been to New York before. And you're by yourself, you have a physical. And I mean, this physical is thorough. I mean, they go through blood work. I mean, everything. So then they set you up with a partner, Don. So me and him went through everything together. Then we both went and met with that Colonel Adger. They did, like training with us. Like, the first thing that the lady told me is, the girls are going to want to touch your hair. They're going to want to brush your hair. They're going to want, and she was right. She was right. one of the first things that happened. And they kind of just try to get you ready. There's 48 women that are in there. There's nothing that can prepare you. You just have to do it. Then you come home and they send the crew to your house to do the like home visit basically. Wow. And they do some more training with you, you know, what to expect, what not to do. They sure never told me don't say safekeeping. That's for damn sure. They never told me not to say it, right? And then they tell you the next morning, pack all your stuff, put your cell phone in a baggie so we can keep it separate, pack your bags, and meet us in the lobby. That next morning, I went from the lobby to the warehouse where they were waiting with the cop car to set up the arrest. They do like the fake arrest, put you in shackles. And then I went in the car with the guy and I was gone for 2 months. Yeah. And I did have like a little mini breakdown. They showed it. Of course they did. That I was like, I don't know if I can do it. So one of the producers took me in the back and just had a little chit chat with me, you know, and said, you know, we picked you for a reason. We feel like you're strong enough to do this. And, you know, then I went. Anybody that says they're not scared is a liar. I'm sorry. I mean, they're not telling the truth. And you don't know when you're getting out. They say 60 days. It could be 57, 58 days. It could be 64 days. It could be 65, you know, it could be Maury was there for longer than 60 days. I will say that.
Wow.
And I felt so, because they took me out first. She got there before me and left after me. And I was so worried about her. When I left, I was so worried about her, but we didn't know at the time. But when they pulled us out, there was already 2 season 4 participants in there with us.
Okay.
And I would have never guessed. It was Stephanie, and she was in my cell with me for the weekend.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed. And Jacqueline never would have guessed. They were doing so good. Stephanie's cover story, it did, you know what I mean? I was like,
yeah,
that sounds real familiar. And I kind of thought like, wow, that story's so much like mine. Why would they do that to me? Because I'm still here.
Right.
And here she's saying this. But by that point, I was almost like numb. Like I was just over it.
What were your feelings on the criminal justice system before going undercover to jail? And did your participation in the show change your perspective on the criminal justice system?
I think I just know that it's very skewed, like it still is. Like they focus on the wrong things. Like I said this in an interview, you know, somebody with a pound of marijuana is going to get more time than a pedophile. And I still feel that way. And the only thing that I guess really changed my opinion was the age of the girls really shocked me. I guess I thought that I don't know why. I thought they were all going to be my age. Yeah. And they're all younger and they're not I would say 99% of them, they're not criminals, they're addicts and they need help. They don't need jail. Mm-hmm. And I just got frustrated hearing some of their stories. You know, this one girl in particular, and I really, really liked her and connected with her. She had a drug problem and her family ran out of money for her lawyer. So what would have happened to her is even though she just needed help, she's not a criminal. What they do is they go to them and say, okay, we're going to lessen the charges. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you're going to say, okay, because I want to get out. So then they have a record. They have, you know, they've served jail time, but really they needed treatment, not jail. And I feel like that is a huge problem in this country because they're not, I mean, an addict and a criminal, you do criminal things, but you really are not maybe a criminal. You know, you're addicted to a substance that's making you do these things. And Sydney, the girl that I got closest with in my cell, same thing. She got addicted to a substance that made her do things to get that substance, which she would not have normally done. She had some issues at home, but she wasn't a criminal. She was an addict. So I think that was what bothered me the most. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's an economic thing. You know, if you don't have the money to defend yourself, what are you going to do? You're going to get a public defender that has 1,800 cases and they can't pay attention to one particular case. So I feel like that's a huge issue and it always will be. I don't think there's going to be any change anytime soon. And it's really sad. It breaks my heart for some, you know, I still think about the women and, you know, where did they end up? What happened to them? did they ever get straightened out? So Sydney got out before me. And when I got out, I found out that she got killed in a car accident, and it tore me up. Like, I just loved her. You know, me and her really connected. She's my daughter's age. So I wanted to help her. And her sister and me have communicated. And she said, you know, you made a huge impact on her. She really, really loved you. Those, you know, that was all genuine. But then I never got to talk to her again because obviously, you know, rest in peace, her soul. She was a special, special girl and had her whole life ahead of her. You know, it's really sad. I ended up staying because my daughter is the one that told me, you will not even make it 2 weeks because you're too dependent on dad. You're gonna leave. I know you'll leave. So every time I would want to leave, I would kind of hear her voice, you know, saying that. So I'm like, no, I have to stay. I have to do this.
While you were undercover, there was a Whip It party, kind of going back to what you said earlier. And Whip It is a taffy-like mixture containing crushed pills that is made by the inmates. And many viewers were shocked when you took the Whip It with the inmates to fit in. But in the end, it made the inmates trust you more. So do you believe that if you didn't take the Whip It, that your cover would have been blown?
I mean, I don't know if my cover would have been blown, but they were looking at me sideways this whole time. They're looking at me sideways. So I felt like I have to do this. If I don't do it, because everybody else in the entire room's doing it, and I'm going to sit there. They're already saying I'm a cop. They're already saying I'm undercover. They're already saying all these things. So it would have just been like my nail in the coffin. Like, well, yeah, of course she's not going to do it because she's undercover. So there was no question about that. I did it right away because I was trying to fit in. I was trying to, you know, and I think it did like surprise them. Like, well, maybe she's not. I think they kind of were going back and forth with me. Like, is she or isn't she? Like, who is this lady? You know?
Yeah.
And I was old enough to be all of their mothers, you know? Yeah. So I think they just really didn't know what to think, you know?
Male or female, who do you think did the best job as a participant from your season? And who do you think did the worst job?
Everybody says this, but I have to say Nate. You know, he fit in the best. His rapport was so genuine and strong with the inmates. I would have to say him. And you know, I really can't say that anybody did the worst job, just because you're so brave to even do it. You know, you're so brave to even step in there.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, anybody that doesn't stay the whole time, I would say, because I feel like, you know, you have to give it a chance. You have to let your mental and physical adjust to your surroundings. So I feel like, you know, people that, I don't know what that guy's name was, that he didn't even try it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm talking about, I can't remember his name. Yeah. He didn't even do it. So I would have to say him for sure. Because, you know, he wasted so much of the production's time, efforts. I mean, they do, you know, of course they pay for everything, you know, your plane, your travel, your per diems, your food. And he didn't even try to, like, you know, do it. He backed out. I think like at the morning that they were trying to take him in, he backed out. So I would definitely say he did the worst because he didn't, you know,
even try it. Yeah. Now, is there anything else that you would do differently while locked up? And if asked, would you do 60 days in again?
The circumstances would have to be way different because how they have everything set up now, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious who the people are. If things were different, yeah, probably. If the money was right, if they were going to compensate me for my time, absolutely. But they just would have to have there would have to be so many things changed. You know, the cover stories are weak. They're not believable. You don't have any court documents. So if the circumstances were different, I would say absolutely. As far as do anything different, I don't think so, because I just know my survival mode kicked in, and I did what I had to do to stay, you know, to stay there and make it work, because it's the most uncomfortable environment. You're stripped of all of your everything. You know, you don't even have your own bra. You don't have anything. I had one hair tie that I went in with, you know, with my hair pulled up, and I had it the entire time. So that was like my little, you know, I don't know. That was the only thing I had of mine was a hair tie. And it's just so uncomfortable. The surroundings, the food, it's always loud. There's always somebody fighting. There's always somebody bullying someone. It's it's a violent surrounding. And when you're not used to that, you're not used to that drama and that noise, it's very hard to adjust to.
Do people from your town recognize you from the show and ask you about it?
If I'm out in public, no, but at work, yeah. And there's been a couple of my customers that have said to me, aren't you? No, you can't be. But they're like, yeah. So and yeah, when people do, they want to know, they'll ask me questions and it's mostly online, because we've been locked down for so long now. But yeah, a couple of people, and especially at work, because I work with the public. So it's mostly, how did you get on the show?
Thank you so much for being in the hot
seat. Of course.
And thank you for answering those questions. It was really an interesting experience. And I just think so fascinating. I had to talk to you. I think a lot of people, my mom is a huge fan of the show. You're one of her favorite.
Nice. That's so cool. Yeah, there is and now that for this past year, since everybody's been at home, so many people have reached out to me because they're watching it now. When they never would have watched it before, they're watching it because they're at home and they're bored. So they binge watch all these seasons, and it's kind of cool to hear all the different opinions and, so yeah, it's really neat.
Well, thank you so much again.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.